A ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas appears to be taking shape, but nothing is imminent for now. Both sides downplaying a statement from US President Joe Biden that the truce could go into effect from Monday. The deal, which is still being ironed out in Qatar, would include a 6-week pause in fighting and the release of up to 40 hostages in exchange for at least 300 Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails. We can now go across to France 24's Andrew Hillier standing by in Jerusalem for us. Andrew, good afternoon. Are we close to a deal?
Well, both Israeli officials and Hamas appear to have poured cold water on talk of a truce deal coming together in the next few weeks. They both distanced themselves from those comments by Joe Biden. The Hamas leader saying that his side was showing flexibility, but that it was still prepared to fight. And there are some, I think, major sticking points here. For a start, first and foremost, Hamas has always insisted on a full Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip as a precondition to any truce deal. That, of course, for the Netanyahu government is simply out of the question. Hamas also wants internally displaced people to be able to return to their homes, or at least what's left of their homes in northern Gaza. Israel, for its part, wants Hamas to stop firing rockets into Israel. But just yesterday, there were sirens that sounded in the southern Israeli city of Ashkelon. Also, I think disagreements with regards to which Israeli hostages would be released first. Israel reportedly wants female soldiers to be amongst the first to be released as part of any deal. The problem is that Hamas sees any Israeli soldier as a key bargaining chip, so they're very likely to push back on that. So clearly, I think still a long way to go if both sides are to bridge the gap that separates them and somehow clinch a deal.
Now, as these negotiations take place over in Qatar, Andrew, one thing we have to bear in mind is the domestic pressure at home in Israel on authorities to do whatever they can to bring the hostages home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to bear in mind that it's been almost 5 months now since those hostages were kidnapped. And of course, their families have been living in utter despair. Today, families of the hostages organized a rally, a march, setting off from the site of the Nova Music Festival. Of course, one of the sites that was targeted by Hamas militants during their attacks on October 7th. They'll be marching all the way to Jerusalem. They're set to arrive here on Saturday. They'll be joined by former hostages who were released from captivity. And of course, the aim is just to keep up the pressure on the Israeli government to do whatever it can to secure the release of those hostages still being held in Gaza. Just yesterday, I spoke to someone who's friends with two of the hostages believed to be held in Gaza, and she told me she couldn't believe it had almost been 5 months since they had been kidnapped. So, of course, whenever there's any talk of a truce, that raises hopes here.